This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider. Positive Momentum would like to give a special thanks to Oracle Aviation at Millard Airport for use of their facilities and aircraft.
Michael, I'm the Assistant Chief Instructor here at Oracle Aviation at the Millard Airport, and I'll be talking to you today about the use of checklists, what they are and what they are not. Checklists for aviation really started out prior to World War II with the crash of the prototype of the B-17 bomber. And what had happened is the crew had forgotten to do something and the airplane crashed on takeoff. So checklists were developed. What checklists are designed to do is to be used as a check for the people using them. They're used in aviation, they're used in medicine, they're used in various other industries. So they're not just unique to aviation. There are two basic ways to use checklists. This is an example of one. Of a checklist is as a to-do list, and you'll see this often, especially on commercial flights. Things like, okay, brakes set, intercoolers on, things like that. The other way is to use them as a have we done it list, okay? And very often the pilots or the crew will do things in a flow pattern. And for example, on a pre-flight, we'll do it in a flow pattern, but we'll come back and say, okay, the brakes, the wheels are inflated, we have the proper documents on board, we have the proper fuel on board, we've checked everything we're supposed to check. There is a checklist for each phase of flight, from everything from pre-flight to engine start to taxi, takeoff, climb, cruise, descent, landing, after landing, and securing the airplane. Those are some of the major phases of flight, and there is a checklist for each of them. Okay? All right? For example, for climb, we have on this airplane right here, is the power set? Is the fuel pump is off? Have we leaned the mixture? Various phases of the things that we want to check during the climb. During cruise, we'll do it the same kind of thing. During descent, we'll turn the fuel pump on. All these are items that are verified by the checklist. This is to make sure that A, we haven't skipped anything, and B, that we've done everything in its proper order. Every commercial professional pilot uses a checklist. Sort of common to all airplanes, whether you're in a small one like this trainer behind you or whether you're in a big jet. Many things are very similar. For example, the way an airplane turns is by banking, by dipping one wing lower than the other, much like you would on a bicycle. You tip to turn. So the fact that you're tipped sideways in an airplane when it's turning, that's normal. You'll feel all your weight going down through the floor of the airplane rather than skidding to one side or the other. That's normal. Another thing that happens that disturbs many people in aviation is the noise, especially in small airplanes. The engines are noisy. The propeller is noisy. The noise is a good thing. When it stops is when the pilot sweats a lot, okay? On takeoff, for example, you will notice in all aircraft that the pilots will use the maximum available power. That means we're going to have a lot of noise. You'll feel that surge in the back of your seat like a car jetting off from a red light. That's normal. And in fact, that's very good. In most propeller airplanes, the takeoff is not as dramatic as it is in a jet because they operate differently, but the fact that it goes zoom is a good thing. Okay, we want to get the most altitude on a takeoff that we can get as soon as we can get it, because the higher we are, the safer we are. You'll notice after that maximum kind of performance on the takeoff that the airplane will pitch down a little bit. It'll decrease that maximum performance. You may feel like it's slowing down. It may turn fairly dramatically after takeoff. That's normal, again, the kind of thing. We don't climb as fast as we can, as high as we can. We're not fighter jets, and we're not trying to be fighter jocks. On landing, for example, most aircraft will land much like a bird does, in kind of a flare with that nose high up in the air, and then the nose wheel will touch down later. After that nose wheel is down, especially in the jets, you'll feel the engines, you'll hear them rev up and go to a fairly high throttle setting, lots of noise, but they're blowing air forward to brake the airplane. And you'll see that stop after it slows down quite a bit, and then you hear normal braking. By the way, aircraft brakes are noisy, they squeak, they vibrate. That's okay, that's normal. You'll also notice on airplanes, a lot of times, especially on some of the bigger jets, things like flaps being lowered, like the flaps you see right here. Example, many jets have slats that come down on the front of the airplane. They will have spoilers that come up on landing. In fact, you can see right through the wing on many of them when they deploy all those parts, but they're used to slow the airplane down, to increase the lift of the airplane at low airspeed, to make the airplane work better. So all these noises and thunks and that you hear are very, very normal. Thunks, things like the landing gear coming down. When you hear that, when the airplane's about 2 miles from landing, you hear that big thunk coming out from under you, that's a good thing. Okay, it's supposed to happen. Generally, in larger aircraft, you won't hear as much wind noise as you will in the smaller ones because they are pressurized. Jets, by and large, are usually quieter. One of the big advantages, one of the big selling points for them than our propeller aircraft, be they turboprop run by a jet engine or piston engines. That's really about it. And don't be afraid of turbulence. It's like being in a small boat on a lake. You're going to hit some waves. It's going to bounce. And the big disturbing thing about turbulence is you can't see it coming. You know, if you're driving along on a road, you can see that big bump coming. Oh, I can get ready for it. In an airplane, you can't. You just kind of have to ride with it and understand that it happens. If you find yourself getting airsick at all or getting queasy at all, the best thing you can do is get some cool air blowing on your face. Look outside if you can. Get your eyes matching what you see your body is telling you that's going on. Very often the queasiness comes from you're looking around inside the airplane and it's still, but your body tells you this is happening. Okay, get them to match and that'll help you a lot. Exactly the same as being seasick. It's no different.